Hey, what's going on, everybody? I wanted to make a video in regards to something that's very important for some of you to understand. So when you look at my last few videos, please watch these videos slowly. For some of you guys that are asking questions like about endorsements and what is the process, what I'm trying to show you is take this information, learn it so you can save your money. I'm trying to help some of y'all out. Okay. So just take this information, read your agreement, and learn and ask questions to yourself. How do I do this? The reason why I'm trying to get you to open up and listen to what I'm saying to you is because if you open up and listen to what I'm saying to you, you will get it. You will get everything. You can't get anything until you have understanding. Okay. So I'm giving it what's happening. Okay. What's happening is an instrument conversion. So you can sign a promissory note, and a promissory note can function like a draft, a note, a security. So just like when I did the other video and I told you when somebody endorses a an instrument, it can change the nature of how an instrument is used or the intentions behind the person. This is what the UCC is about. The UCC is not about a direct instrument. That's why it's so vague. This is any instrument. This is any instrument. You see what I'm saying? So when you're just focusing on the small things about endorsements, if you want to look and see what type of endorsements, go back to the video that I did talking about presentments, the one that's recently done about presentments. Copy that little section. I think it's II or something like that, and then run it through like an AI software, whichever one you want to use, and ask, how can I enforce this? How can I use it? These are the type of questions that you need to ask, but you want to not just take the AI software and run with it. You want to do your own research. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to do. Okay. So let's get back to the statute. I'm sorry I went on this tangent, but okay, so subsection 3-420, conversion of an instrument. So you have to understand when you're going to a dealership, you think that you're signing a promissory note, but the promissory note is really a check. It's not a promissory note, it's a check. So what's happening is they're enforcing a check, which they're giving their interest to the bank to collect on. So they just instantly converted an instrument that you thought was a loan instrument into a security or a negotiable instrument. They didn't tell you that when you signed it. No. So we're not going to argue with these people. We're not going to go back and forth with them. So we're just going to give them what they want. You know, the system is built on fiction. Just keep the fiction running. Um, so, A, the law applicable to the conversion of personal property applies to instruments. Okay. A bank account is considered personal property. Okay. So you have to understand the instruments issued, the payment orders issued on that bank account are your instruments. Okay. That's why you get a statement. That's why your bank is holding the statement on behalf of you. Okay. So look, an instrument is also converted if it is taken by transfer other than a negotiation. Okay. So if you hold an instrument and you sign it Jane Doe, okay, then that instrument is a transfer instrument. Okay. That means that you're liable for it unless you make a claim. But if you restrict your obligation, then you're not liable for the instrument depending on how you did that or how you did your restriction, which should be something you need to study and do on your own because you're going to be the one that has to form your defense if the other party does not acquiesce. Not me. I could only help you so far, man. So, other than a negotiation from a person not entitled to enforce the instrument or a bank makes a makes or obtains payment with respect to the instrument for a person not entitled to enforce the instrument or receive payment. An action for conversion of an instrument may not be brought by the issuer or acceptor. Okay. So if a person agrees to be the issuer or the acceptor, they can't bring it. Okay. But of the instrument or a payee, meaning the person receiving it, or endorsee who did not receive delivery of the instrument either directly or through delivery to an agent or co-payee. So when you're dealing in these agreements, right? When you get a person that says that they are the person you are making payment to, that doesn't always mean that you're making payment to them. They can be a transfer agent and they could take your payment as a debit from your account, which it should have never been taken as a debit from your account because you're in a credit transaction. That's what I keep telling you guys. So if you understand that how the system works is it works by credit. It's a credit-based system. But if you don't understand it's a credit-based system, you're going to still allow these people to make debits on your bank account. Okay? So when you make a call and you set up an EFT, that is a negotiable instrument. If you know how to structure that negotiable instrument, it can be used for settlement. Okay. In an action under subsection A, the measure of liability is presumed to be the amount payable on the instrument, but recovery may not exceed the amount of the plaintiff's interest in the instrument. C. A representative other than a depository bank who has in good faith dealt with an instrument or its proceeds on behalf of one who was not the person entitled to enforce the instrument is not liable in conversion to that person beyond the amount of any proceeds that it has not paid out. Okay. So now when we're talking about this, we have to understand what's happening on this instrument. So if you have an instrument and you're in possession of an instrument, it's not hard to figure out how to transfer an instrument. I mean, that's a simple Google search. Okay. A lot of this stuff is not very complicated. So I want us to stop thinking that everything is complicated and start being able to do for ourselves. So look, subsection 3-203, transfer of instrument rights acquired by transfer. A, an instrument is transferred when it is delivered by a person other than its issuer for the purpose of giving to the person receiving delivery the right to enforce the instrument. So if they receive an instrument and you didn't give them a right to enforce it, then they're not going to be able to enforce the instrument. So you have to understand when you're sending in instruction to a bank, you have to understand how to facilitate payment to them or how to transfer rights or how to transfer your interest. This is not hard stuff to figure out. That's what I'm saying. You guys have Google. You all of this stuff, what I'm saying in these videos, you need to be Googling off these videos so you can learn at your own pace. Okay. So look, transfer of an instrument, whether or not the transfer is a negotiation. Okay. Vest in the transferee any right of the transferor to enforce the instrument. So as soon as you sign your note, when you're at the dealership and the dealership goes and they assign it without recourse to the bank, they use that instrument as a drawing instrument. Okay. And what happens is you're the person or your entity is what they're drawing against. So if they're drawing against your instrument, then you might have to give them an instrument that is transferable to them to settle the obligation for full in its entirety. So they give you a draft and you can transfer it in full for settlement, paid to their order, however you want to structure your endorsement. It says it right in your dang on agreement, dog. Oh my God. Including any right as a holder in due course. Okay. But the transferee cannot acquire rights of a holder in due course by a transfer, directly or indirectly from a holder in due course if the transferee engaged in fraud or illegality affecting the instrument. So if you have an instrument and you exhibit that instrument and you file an affidavit stating that the transferee engaged in fraud, and you cite the fraud and you state it and you record it in the county, I mean, you pretty much can just enforce that. But that's the long thing. Okay, so look, unless it's otherwise agreed, if an instrument is transferred for value and the transferee does not become a holder because of lack of endorsement by the transferor, the transferee has specifically enforceable rights to the unqualified endorsement. Okay, so you have to understand what an unqualified endorsement is. So we'll go ahead and take this even further. So you want to know what things like unqualified endorsement is, because when you're signing documents, that's the way you're acquiring liability. So if you sign a document like Jane Doe, and that's why a lot of people tell you UCC 1-308, okay, there's many other ways to restrict your endorsement. You can see attached and you can put an attachment to your stuff so you don't ever have to be liable. You have the right to negotiate any way that you want to. And anybody that impedes in your negotiations, now it's not quite being a negotiation under duress, right? So that's not hard for us to understand. Once you understand the law, everything should be good. All right. So that's what I want a lot of you guys to take your time with this, even though I know everything that you're going through seems so immediate. It really isn't. I'm gonna be honest, it isn't. I've been there, so I know it isn't. In the moment, everything seems like when it's happening to you, it seems like it's the worst thing in the world. But it really isn't. It's the greatest teacher on earth. Because when you make it through bad stuff, you know you can make it through anything. So the more bad stuff that happens to you, sometimes it's almost a blessing. But you always want the best to happen, obviously. But some of the bad stuff can be your teacher, and the good times are also the great teacher too. So, but, all right. So an unqualified acceptance. They don't have that type of unqualified endorsement. Okay. So let's see what a qualified endorsement is, because they're not really saying what a unqualified endorsement is. So a qualified endorsement or endorsement is an endorsement that passes title. Remember, you remember back in the days, I did a video talking about holding title. So if you're holding one side of the ledger and the other party is holding one side of the ledger, you have to do something to collapse it. So you either have to settle it, transfer your rights, tender payment, or whatever. That's what collapses their title in that instrument. Okay. So to a negotiable instrument with certain restrictions, it is an endorsement coupled with additional phrase, e.g., without recourse. See, thereby limiting the liability of the endorser, signer, to subsequent holders of the instrument in the event the instrument is dishonored. The idea that the endorser is transferring any rights they have in the instrument, but they are not warranting that the payer of the instrument will honor it. While a qualified endorsement makes it uh, more difficult for theft or embezzler to cash an instrument. See, they already telling you that you could send them a remittance, you could send them a money order, you could send them drafts, checks, whatever, and they can't cash it. The agreement's not for cash. That's I'm telling you guys the answer. So look, it does not affect or limit the liability to further seek, transfer, or negotiate the instrument. Okay. So now you understand what a qualified endorsement is. Because really, if we did a paid call, this is all I would be doing is going over this with you, because I will show you that all you really need to do is read these statutes and it will help you put endorsements together, because you can do a lot of things with endorsements. All right. So remember, you can, it says unqualified endorsement. We couldn't really find that definition, but it showed you what a qualified endorsement is. Okay. Of the transferor, but negotiation of the instrument does not occur until the instrument is made. Okay. D. If a transferor purports to transfer less than the entire instrument, negotiation of the instrument does not occur. The transferee obtains no rights under this article and has only the rights of a partial assignee. So what happens is they only have one side of the ledger, or they only have one side of the title. And since they're acting as a partial assignee, they need you to either give them the rights to settle the obligation on your behalf, or you need to settle it on your behalf and then give it to them and make them liable for it. So it depends on where you want to do, because a check can have many functions. I might do a call in regards to a check one time. But some of you guys do not understand what a check is, and it's all in the negotiable instruments law. And when you read these laws, you'll start to understand and put it together. Like, you can put it together with your own brain. Yeah, like I said, you have your AI software. Remember, don't trust AI software. You got to do your own research. So no matter what, it's easier to do your own research. It's probably better to do your own research, because a lot of the videos are broken down. I pretty much broken down anything. But I think I'm going to be opening up some of the consultation spots for the rest of this week and some for next week. And then I'm probably going to get back to focusing on building up some things. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for tuning in this channel, and we're still growing, and it's a beautiful thing. Have a good one.